revenue did you do last month? Top of your head, rough figure.
Last 30 days is 70k.
So Luke, where have you taken me? Where are we now?
We are in Liverpool, pretty much Albert Dock, right next to the waterfront. So right in the centre, the heart of Liverpool. And it's kind of busy, but this is probably the quietest I've ever seen.
Luke, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Yeah, sure. So pretty much a couple of years to the day, I decided to get started on my online arbitrage journey. I was originally doing accounting and finance, University of Leeds. I got to the end of my first year, and during the summer I wanted something to do. Quite naturally, being a part of like Trade Investment Society, I looked at sort of long-term macro investing, those kind of things. From there I stumbled across Amazon, private label originally, and then stumbled across online arbitrage. Pretty low barriers to entry, decided, cool, this looks good to me. Little did I know that 2 years later, I'll still be focusing primarily still doing 100% online arbitrage, and in the last 30 days hit 70k in revenue, and that's where I am sort of right now. Quite interestingly, over the last 30 days, gross profit's been about 8.5k, and my fixed, sort of semi-fixed costs are around 2.5k, so that's about 6k net profit. A couple of months ago, my profit over 30 days was 10k sort of gross, 10.5k, which is about 8k net profit, and that was on 63k sales, so less sales but more profit. And I think that has sort of two reasons. I think one, sort of we're coming out of the COVID sort of period now, people out and about, spending more in shops, and so there's a bit less demand online. And then, so that kind of affects the margins in terms of supply and demand, I think. And then secondly, in terms of repricing, I'm maybe repricing a bit more aggressively, so that's why perhaps selling a bit more, but at a slightly lower margin. So it does ebb and flow. And I think I'll average around 10-12% net margin, because coming into Q4 ultimately, I think margins will be higher and revenue will be higher as well. And I'm sort of clearing out quite a lot of my older stock at the moment. I never paid for any training or coaching in the first year, which I kind of regret now, but it was all part of the journey, and this is why it took me 2 years. So first stage was really exploring the business model, getting that proof of concept. I think the biggest thing was actually getting those sales and seeing, yes, this does work. It's not just, ultimately you can see as many other people doing it as you want, but it's understanding, yes, it does work. So that was the kind of the first chapter. Then when I got back into university, a lot of time was spent on sort of drinking, sport, a bit of university, actual studying on the side of it. It was hard to really focus and get work done, and then, so I kept it ticking over. Like I would do my purchasing maybe once a week in a batch, which isn't the most efficient, but it worked for me. I then got to the point where in April 2019, I made a massive decision, and I was like, I want to grow my business. I've got these exams coming up. I want to get VAs. I can't give them the time they need if I have these exams. I need to prioritize them. I did very little uni work during that second year, but I knew that I'm one of those people I can cram and I can get the results. Like I got a scholarship my first year of uni. And I'm not saying it's a brag, it's just kind of the situation I was at in terms of I knew I could do it, but I didn't really want to. So I decided I was going to drop out of university to do Amazon full time. And that's where the second really productive chapter started for me in terms of I eventually, in May 2019, I got a prep center, which was huge. I wish I didn't wait that long. Prep center definitely the way to go. I hired six sourcing VAs, unintentionally, but I did. I hired and trained them, and 3 of them are still with me 15 months later. That was kind of the second stage in terms of then building up to when I then went to Australia. Didn't hit as many goals as I'd like in terms of I didn't have the VA purchasing by then, and that's when the second unproductive chapter, I guess, started in terms of I just took the mindset of, look, I'm in Australia, I might not be there again, I've got 6 months, I just kept the business ticking over. So did the purchasing, I did the kind of maintenance stuff that I needed to. I did hire an admin VA during that point. That was my biggest sort of time input and huge time saver. But I was pretty much just ticking the business along. I took the mindset of really just enjoying my time in Australia, so I didn't really grow much during that time. So it's kind of stagnation period where I had the cash coming in and my VAs were still gaining experience, which is good, but I didn't have big growth. And then along comes sort of the 5th chapter where I'd say I'm sort of at now, and that was COVID. So got back to the UK, and the blessing, I call it a blessing, COVID happened in a way it is. Not in terms of what's happened to the world, but for me, it meant that I didn't have any distractions. I literally just worked. I don't have any kids. I don't have anything. My sport, my gym, all this stuff was sort of taken away. No nights out. I barely drunk over that period, and I just smashed my business out. I systemized everything I could systemize. I completely redid my repricing system, completely got my VA purchasing. All these things I did over this productive period, and it's interesting how things like that can force you to make a change, but in a way it's kind of bad that it took that to do that, and that kind of takes me to where I am now in terms of, okay, it's taken me kind of 2 years, but there were some periods there where I wasn't really productive, and I made mistakes by doing stuff myself. Things like, for example, not having a good purchasing system, not having good bookkeeping systems. The worst one was mixing personal and business transactions, and these things cost me a lot of time and money, and that's why I really recommend using like a proven system and training and utilizing those resources. And because yes, Facebook groups are helpful, and I've met some great people through them, but they're not going to give you everything you need to know about.
5 top tips for getting to £70,000 revenue. What would it be?
Know your reason why, because it's a huge motivator. It's easy to talk about what you want to do, but to actually go and implement it and go and work on your business and get to that stage, you need that reason why. And then from there, you can break it down into smaller goals. So, yeah. Secondly, align your current actions with that goal. So I already talked about this in terms of what you're doing now. Don't do things short term where you can. Work towards long term. Thirdly, build your team. So I've got 3 sourcing VAs, purchasing VA, and an admin VA, and they are crucial to me, and looking after them is huge. Fourth, manage your time. So what I mean by that is not just on a weekly basis planning your time and executing it, but looking at where are you spending your time and what can you outsource, and then outsourcing those things. And fifth, wow, I'd say replenishment, honestly. I think that was massive for me, and it really did help with the business. And look, I'm not saying you can't control all the variables, and there was more things to it, but replenishing, focusing on that. I don't mean searching for new replenishables, but having a database for existing products, that was massive in terms of managing the business. So definitely work on that, utilize those existing leads. Yeah, so I think a couple of people asked me in terms of in 5 years time, where do you want to be? Honestly, with my Amazon business, unless I take up a new venture like private label or wholesale, for online arbitrage, I just want to be, if I can be in the same position I am now in 5 years time, I'll bite your hand off. For me, I work maybe 3-4 hours a week on the Amazon business and generating a pretty nice income stream through it. So if I can maintain that for the next 5 years with minimal effort, I'm very happy. I've got to the stage where if I wanted to scale it, I'd probably need to hire maybe escalate someone to a new purchasing manager position, maybe take on more sourcing VAs, and I don't really want to do that right now, and I don't really see myself changing that because I like diversifying. So that's where it's coming into in terms of new projects, new challenges outside of Amazon, but linked to it. So marketing and sales and building these skills and working on other things like looking at property, for example, and other income streams. So that's where I'm focusing on now. And Amazon related sort of trainings to help people with like coaching and training and these kind of things, which one, I enjoy, and two, it's working on the marketing and sales, which I find interesting. Probably Facebook, to be honest. Just Luke Filer. If you search the group iGen Entrepreneur or search Luke Filer, you'll see a beautiful picture of my face. And if you click that profile and drop me a message, then yeah, that's probably the best way.
Right, we're going to eat this now, so I'll leave you to it. Cheers.